Hey everyone, welcome back to Cali Plants. Me again, Mark. Today we're back at the greenhouse, and for this one, we're finally gonna do the potting mix that I've been making for a few weeks, for a few months already. And this potting mix is what I found to be successful when it comes to growing larger succulents. And I also made adjustments to it recently so that it can also work for those people who have a higher humidity in a lower location in lowlands. So those who have hotter temperatures, probably this will work for you, but you can still make adjustments to this potting mix. I will just show you the basic concepts. Also, I will be giving you some tips on how you can tell if your potting mix is right, if your potting mix is good. So I will be showing you some tips, some ideas on how to do that. But first, let's go over to the succulents that I have recently planted, succulents that I newly bought. So I will be showing them to you how the potting looks when you first use it. So let me switch the camera. Okay, so it's really windy right now. Okay, these are the new plants that I bought. I actually forgot what the name of this one is, but we've got this brown rose, we have our ice green, we have Laulinsiana, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, we got a Margaret Repin. They're kind of dry, okay, but I just know that if I water them for a few weeks, in a few days, I will be watering them. I just know that they will start plumping up. We also have our Heart Delight right here. Okay, new plant. This is very expensive. I managed to buy one that is still smaller, so I got a nice discounted price on this one. I bought it for a cheaper price. We have a variegated Suyon. Okay, you can see here the potting mix that I've used with them. It's still dry, and you can see one sign that your potting mix is good is it's kind of fluffy. It doesn't clump up. So what you will also find when you water this type of potting mix, it will stay fluffy. It will not clump up. So that is a nice property to have. I will show you one of my older plants, which is planted in the same potting mix. You can see here, it's not clumping up. It's still fluffy. So if you're the type who likes that, then this is a good potting mix for you. Okay, this is already used for a while. Okay, this pudgy used to be very ugly, but it has grown a lot. You can see here, there's also new heads, and I watered this a few times, and the potting mix doesn't clump up. So that is the one property that you would like on your potting mix. Okay, these are the new succulents that I have recently watered. Okay, our bluebird, it is kind of attaching. Okay, it was not rooted when it came. There's no roots, but now it is establishing. We also have this red rubidona. Okay, the light's not that good. Okay, but it is already establishing on there. Okay, so that is a nice one. This is new. Okay, ice green, Lawrence's blue surprise, still not stressed, but I will manage to stress that out. Okay, we also have our new smaller succulents, Nodulasa, West Rainbow, Choco Moonstone. They're all in the same potting mix. So I have been planting actually yesterday or the day before. So you can see this potting mix also works for the Lola. Okay, there. It's kind of fluffy. It's not clumping. Okay, and it also works for my larger succulents. So let's go outside. Okay, this is it hasn't been raining for a while, so the potting mix right now is very dry. So this is the new Ellen that I have planted in the potting mix. Okay, still fluffy. If you put it in a rain or shine location, the organic materials will naturally sink in, but this is still the same potting mix. Okay, you can see there. Okay, this is kind of clumped up because of the rain, because it's been watered by tap water. Okay, same idea here. The roots will attach to the organic materials, but it will not attach to the pumice. So that is one thing you should know. So if you want your roots to attach to something, you can see here. If you want your roots to attach to something, then you gotta have organic materials in it. Because without those organic materials, your succulents won't have a root ball, and they will establish well. So they won't be attaching to pumice, they will be attaching to organic materials. Same goes with the Myrinae that we have and the Mendoza that we have right here. Okay, so let's just go inside and let's make my potting mix. So I will be showing to you our ingredients. Okay, this is my pumice. Okay, It's already getting less because I've been using it a lot. And this is another type of pumice. This is the smaller one. I think this is the matanghito, and this is mais sized pumice. So what I do here is I sift them out, and I just catch the powdery materials, the powdery stuff on this tray, and I throw it out, and I add the pumice to our mixing tub right here. Okay, so now I will just show you one time how I sift out my pumice. Okay, let's do that. Okay, hopefully you can see it. Okay. So now I will be adding this to our tub. So let's move on to our tub right now. Okay, so what we have here is alnus compost and vermicast. Now what I do to make sure that the potting mix is just right is I try to make it so that it doesn't clump up, but also it doesn't look so pumice. So you will see once we finish mixing this up what I'm talking about, but it should not be a lot of pumice. When you scoop out the potting mix, pumice should not be the major component. You can see here I added large size pumice, small size pumice, and then our alnus compost. Now what I avoid using right now is carbonized rice hull and cocoa coir, because cocoa coir, what cocoa coir tends to do is it's too acidic, so some plants will react negatively to it, so I don't add it anymore. Okay, so what you can see here, it still has a lot of pumice. So what I would do is I will still add a little more organic material, and that is our alnus compost. You can see here it's still whitish in look. Okay, we still add more alnus compost to that. Okay, probably will empty this bag. Now how will you adjust your potting mix? Really, it depends upon you. If you have a greenhouse condition like I have, then this potting mix will be just perfect, so that your succulents will be stressed a little bit. They will not look that etiolated, because if you add more organic materials, they will be etiolated. But if you add too little organic materials and you're in a greenhouse condition where it gets very hot, your succulents will dry up a lot. So I would not recommend that you go with less pumice than this. If you are, however, growing them in a very hot climate and you will not be putting them in a rain or shine location, you can add less organic materials, especially if you're using ceramic pots. If you water consistently though, and you use ceramic pots and you add a little less organic materials, your succulents may be on the bonsai side. You may not see a lot of large growth on your succulent, but you can still make them alive if you have less organic materials. So this is just right for me. This is just the right balance for me for pumice and organic materials. So now let's plant succulent in this potting mix. Okay, so we have our barbecue crassola right here, and the camera is not focusing well. Okay, so we have our barbecue crassola right here, right there, variegated. Okay, I already have 2 of these plants. Okay, and this is already producing a lot of stems, so we'll be combining them in this larger container. Okay, and the light is very bright right now. Okay, hopefully you can see it. We're first gonna add some tape. Okay, it's getting really crowded here in the greenhouse. I also have this purple bean that I have been wanting to replant for a while right now. Okay, I have been wanting to replant this one, and probably we will do that after these barbecues. Okay, so let's just add some potting mix to this container. Okay. So let's just take out this large baby out of here. Okay, it has some roots, so that's nice. Okay, let's plop it there, and let's also take this out. Okay, some roots also. Okay, so succulents really can do well with just a small root system, but with this potting mix I find they will actually establish much faster. I think I buried some of the heads. What I will do, if it just bends downwards, I will just press it, add more potting mix to it, and press it harder so that it doesn't bend anymore. Okay. There. Okay, we have that. So I'll probably water this. After 2 to 3 days, I will probably be watering this one. Now, let's replant the purple bean succulent. So what I find with these round pots as well, you can see here, once the plant manages to really reach the edge of the pot, you can already put it in a larger container. So like this. Okay, it can already fit in that larger container. So you might not have the same pots available in your area, but you can probably find some alternative. I actually like shallower pots than deeper ones, because deeper pots tend to dry out much longer. They take longer to dry out. Okay, let's just open up the center so that we can add the succulent inside. Really crowded in here. Okay, so we have this one. Just poke it out from the sides, so it doesn't have a lot of roots. We'll just plop it down here. Okay. Now, as I said before, this type of potting mixes, if you already have adjusted your potting mix, I would also recommend you adjust your sunlight condition and your watering habits, because with more organic materials, you will find that your succulents will adjust. Sometimes they will get more thirstier, some other times they will take longer to become thirsty, so you have to adjust to that. What I find with these allulose compost potting mixes, what my succulents does with them is that they don't get very thick, they don't get very stressed, so they won't get that thick for very long. They will sometimes get thirsty very quickly, so I will be thoughtful about watering them. Even if they're in a more heavy organic potting mix, organic heavy potting mix, sometimes they will become much more thirstier, and it will be easier for you to identify if they are thirsty, because with more organic materials you can see if the organic components is already dry, because the organic components really change colors. It will be darker in color if it's moist, but it will be very light, and you will already know if the color is light, then that is already the time to water the plant. Okay. So I think with this one, with this old potting mix, I added carbonized rice hull to it, and I would not recommend that you do that anymore, because carbonized rice hull is a very dry component. Succulent roots doesn't attach to it. It will take longer for the succulent to actually establish a good root ball if you add carbonized rice hull as your organic component. So I would recommend you use more alnus compost than carbonized rice hull. And don't make a potting mix that looks like this. You can see here, it's almost pure pumice. Okay, there is still some organic materials to that, but the succulent will not establish in there. So this is a much better alternative. Okay, so this is already a large succulent. Probably I will top water it in the first 2 or 3 waterings, so that the succulent can have some time to establish roots much deeper. And then once it's more established, I will start bottom watering it, so that the roots will be much more deeper and will have longer, more beautiful roots under there. So bottom watering really is also important for rooting up your succulents. Now for my newly bought succulents, right here I will usually water them around 1 week after taking them out of the box. So I will water them then, and then I will wait for another week to water them. So for the first watering, I would just recommend you use top watering. Just sprinkle some water during night, so that it will have some time, the succulent will have some time to produce roots. And then after your top watering, probably in the first 2 or 3 times, then you can start bottom watering your succulent. I would not recommend you bottom water your succulent right away unless you're confident with your watering skills, and unless your succulent already has a lot of roots. If your succulent has a lot of roots, then you can start bottom watering them. So you can know that your succulent have a lot of roots if you move them in their pot and they will already be attached to it. So I have some new succulents right here, really. Okay, like this one. This is new succulent, diamond state. So you can see here, if I move it, it's already attached. So that means that I can bottom water it. And this is the potting mix that it's in. Once it's watered, okay, it's dark in color and it's hard, but once it dries up, it will become much more fluffier. So that's just what happens. Don't panic when that happens. So now let's just switch the camera and let's look at the plants that we have repotted. So here is the purple bean. It's not looking the best. Okay, you can see here it has a lot of how would I say this, really messy growth, but I'm hoping that it will grow consistently now that it's in a nicer potting mix compared with the last one that we had. Okay, so we have that, and we also have our variegated barbecue crassula right here. Okay, so really nice variegation on that. What happened was with this plant, once I was not caring for it enough, once it was in a potting mix that's not good for it, the variegation disappeared and it was getting too dry, so the variegation really disappeared. And once I managed to plant it in a better potting mix, the variegation just returned. So now we have better variegation on its newer leaves. Okay, and we have a lot of growth right now really on this plant. So yeah, that's a nice one to look at. I still have a lot of potting mix. I will still be planting a lot of my succulents. You can see here. Okay, this is what it looks like if it's not being directed by harsh sunlight. Okay, you can still see that it has a lot of pumice still, but it is still organic heavy. And also what I would like to add when it comes to this potting mix, the faster the potting mix gets, the faster the potting mix absorbs water, usually the better it is. So you can try comparing it. For example, you have these two succulents in the same container. Let's say this one absorbs moisture much more quickly, absorbs water much more quickly than this one. Then the potting mix on this one is better because it absorbs water much faster and it will dry out much faster. If your potting mix takes too long to absorb water by bottom watering, then it will also take longer for it to dry out. So I would recommend that you observe your succulents. If they absorb water quickly with their potting mix, then that is already a good sign that you have a good potting mix. Okay, so you can see here, this is the same potting mix in a different plant, same potting mix right here. Okay, same with this one, red noble. It's already looking good. We don't see a lot of desiccation on this one. It was this size when it came, and there's no drying up of leaves at the bottom. Okay, we also have our other beautiful echeverias. Okay, same thing I did with this Nevada. Nevadas are usually very difficult, but you can see here this one is already very thick, and this one still has a lot of pumice, but it's doing better with the alnus compost that I mix on that. So yes, you can still go with a lot of pumice, but you will need to have organic materials mixed in so that your succulents will do nicely. And I really like how this Nevada worked in this potting mix. Okay, so we have that. So we also have our larger succulents. I replanted them in large pots already. Our Hera, our pink champagne, and our Laulinciana. It's already in a very big potting pot. Okay, very big pot, because it already has a lot of roots underneath it. It already has a large root ball. I think it managed to make a root ball out of the entire pot that it was in. So when I replanted it in this large container, I don't think that it will have troubles establishing right now. And I actually bottom watered this the other day, and there's no sign of stress or rotting on the plant. You can see here the leaves actually got thicker on that one. Okay, what I did wrong, this is not a good example. The Echeveria arcane, I planted this one, it was a large one. I planted it in a larger pot right away, and it desiccated a lot of the leaves. It was rotting. Okay, so that's what I was talking about. It was rotting because it has a lot of potting mix, but it doesn't have a lot of roots yet. So now I transferred it into a smaller size pot, and I'm hoping that it will establish much easier on this one. And if it establishes well and if it grows, then I will transfer it in a larger pot as well. And same thing I will do with all my other echeverias. You can see this one with the Momoka, it's already a large succulent, but I still planted it in a small potting mix so that it can root, and once it's rooted, I will transfer it into a larger pot. Okay, same with our okay, the roots are showing on this one, exotic, and with our other echeverias. Okay, so we have that. Another difficult succulent, Echeveria elegans, it's doing well in the same potting mix. So now actually I will be repotting this up into a larger pot. Okay, so that's that. So I think that's about it for this short video about how to make a good potting mix, guys. And this is the same potting mix that really I have been using for a while. Same with my Rain or Shine succulents. You can check out our last video on the channel for my Rain or Shine succulents. This is the same potting mix that I've used on them, and they've done really well. So you can make your adjustments on this one if you don't like how heavy it is with the organic materials. But yeah, you can still make adjustments on it. You can test it out on your cheaper succulents to see if it works, and I hope that you get a lot of success on your next succulents, on your next planting. And it's getting really noisy right now. But I think that's about it for this video. If you liked it, please make sure to hit the thumbs up, and also please subscribe to the channel, and I will see you on the next one. Bye bye.